Hello. Plan to start at 12:15. Thank you for joining me for pause and process. I'm sitting and I realized I wanted to light my candle. We'll let that go. I'm waiting one other minute. I'm waiting another minute. I saw someone get on. All right, it is 12:15. My name is Deborah Wallace, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I created these pause and process as we are bombarded 24/7 with stimulation. And our nervous systems was not designed for this type of living, to be honest. And drawing on my almost 25 years of experience in neuroscience, trauma-informed care, and meditation, weaving in so many theories and models that I have learned and used and thrived on, that I wanted to create opportunities, consistent opportunities for people to pause and process, because anything that's too much, too fast, too soon for our nervous systems to handle creates tension, conflict, dis-ease, anxiety, a whole host of problems for our world. And we need safe outlets to process. So actually, I've written a book called How to Train My Brain, and it's targeted for parents to do, or any caregivers to do with children ages 4 to 11. And so with Valentine's coming around, with any holiday that we have, I believe that whatever those intentions and what we're celebrating on those holidays, we want to weave in every day. And so love is vital for our well-being. And so from a neuroscience perspective, I use a lot of models: neurosequential theory, polyvagal theory, somatic experiencing. And what we have found with our nervous system, it's actually why I use a dog in my book. It's actually my dog. But I use a dog because a dog is on 24/7. And there's this part in our brain that's on, it's called neuroception, that's on scanning for cues of threats and safety. And for health and wellness, and for us to be our best selves, we have to feel love. We have to feel safe. And feeling loved helps us feel safe. So I thought, what more than a perfect time to talk about love today? because if you look at statistics all the way around health, like I said, I'm a marriage and family therapist, conflict. I mean, as I said, if we don't find places to process, express, and make sense of what's happening, we will take it out within ourselves or implode or on others. And so it's so important to make time to pause and process. And I'm going to share a page. To feel healthy, we actually need to be perceiving, and I use the word perceiving really important. Like as a family therapist, I work with a lot of parents and also with couples, and like I love them, I love them. Meanwhile, you're doing and saying all these things that makes your loved one feel bad and sad and hurt and confused. And then you think you're right. So that's yes, you can say you love somebody, but there has to be a felt sense of love. And when we have that, then we feel safe. And so when we feel safe, so this is an image from my book, which I'm going to give a shout out to Sonia Reed, who did all my illustrations in my book. But when we feel safe and loved, we can connect to, in my book, I use an owl. Obviously, our brain is much more complex than that, but I try to make things simple to make sense of it. We can connect to our owl part of our brain. And our owl part of our brain is our prefrontal cortex that's responsible for our higher functioning skills, thinking, planning, organizing, empathy. All those good higher functioning skills are located in the prefrontal cortex, which I use as an owl. And so when we feel loved and saved, we have many feelings. We feel happy, calm, safe, love, joy, confident, gratitude, excited, fun, alive, sociable, interested. We can understand more. We're able to learn new information and be wise. We make responsible choices. We control our thoughts, attitude, body, and behaviors. We have empathy, which means we can be aware of others' thoughts and feelings and how other actions affect others. We are strong and healthy, and we can be kind. And I weave in so many models. So I kind of mentioned polyvagal theory by Dr. Stephen Porges. And so this, in our nervous system, I've done many talks on the nervous system. It's the vagus nerve, goes from our head down to our gut. And when we are perceiving, feeling safe, then we can access, as I said, our prefrontal cortex, but we're in our ventral vagal state of our nervous system, which means all these lovely feelings, and we can feel connected and engaged, and a lot of that I described there. So that's called ventral vagal, and our goal is we want to be in ventral vagal more than not. It's not possible. We are human beings, as I mentioned. There are threats all the way around us, and so it's so simple to get activated in fight, flight, or freeze and collapse. And I'm going to focus on ventral vagal. And then also I do a lot of IFS, internal family systems. So when we are feeling connected to our best selves, then we can access those 8 C's, which is compassion, clarity, confidence. I always, whenever there's a list, now I'm going to I'll pull them up right now. 8 C's. That's when we know that we're curious, we have courage, creativity, calm, compassion. I said, so it's compassion, creativity, curiosity, connected, courage, confidence, clarity, and calm. So that's just weaving in that language. Either way, it's your best self. You know how you feel when your best self, which in these pause and process, I usually talk for the first 10 to 15 minutes, and then I end with an activity, which I'm just going to have a sit with and help us connect to what helps us feel love and safe. So that'll be the activity that I do today. So what feels love for one person may be different. A popular book that's around is the love languages. And so some people prefer words of affirmation, some people prefer touch, some people prefer acts of services. There's no right or wrong, and there's usually in therapy, I love reflecting on our upbringings. There tends to be a narrative and it makes sense as we unpack your upbringing. But again, it doesn't, it's good things, healthy things that make you feel safe, seen, soothed, secure is often, I'll use that from Dr. Dan Siegel's work, because when we feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure, then our nervous system can build in a lovely, healthy, integrative way that helps us feel alive. And as I mentioned on this page, all those things we feel. And so feeling loved and saved is so vital for our health, our well-being, for our ability to be able to empathize and connect with our loved ones and everyone. So you can see how important it is. So then I'll move on to, my hope is to keep these short and sweet, as I want to make, and I plan these around lunchtime usually so that people can take a pause, because we need to weave in. So whether you do this now, again, everyone, you need to meet your nervous system where it's at and what helps feel safe and seen to you. So pick a time that works for you. There is no right or wrong. And it's often best to start small, realistically. And so there's this other page in my book where I have the caregiver and the children talk about what helps them feel safe and loved. So this is actually what I'm going to have us sit with as we pause and process. And in my book, it's an opportunity to draw pictures or write the words. And for today, what I'll have us do is first take some few breaths, breathing. So just breathe in through your nose, exhale long, and breathing on a biological, physiological state, the science behind it is when you imagine getting oxygen, we need oxygen. And when you take a deep conscious breath, obviously we're always breathing, but when we make it conscious and we have intention to it, it has more impact. It is more vital. It's feeding us in some deeper, meaningful ways. And so when you breathe in, you really want to imagine getting oxygen to your lungs, filling up your body. If you have any sore parts, just imagine getting to the trillions of cells, all the oxygen. And when you exhale, you want to exhale through the mouth. However, if it's more natural for you to breathe out through the nose, that's okay. Just listen to your body and do what feels right. So breathing in, exhaling long through your mouth, and it's helpful to make that out breath a second or two longer. Again, don't strain, this is all about being compassionate with your mind, body, and spirit. There's no right or wrong. And everyone I work with, I teach my ABCs, which is acknowledge, breathe, and C stands for compassion, containment, and coping thought. So I did done a talk on that. And so when you're breathing, you're just kind of acknowledging without judgment what's coming up for you. Notice, as I mentioned, perceived threats. And I just wanted to take why that word perceived matters so much, because I work with so many couples and family members, and they're just like, I don't know why you're upset about that. That's not helpful, because no one wants to be upset. No one wants to feel afraid. It's a very vulnerable feeling, very unsettling, very uncomfortable. And so when you're acknowledging, I want you just to acknowledge what could be a potential threat in your environment. And it could be as subtle and simple as, I have a meeting at 1 and I'm not quite ready. Like your nervous system perceives that as a threat. There is a time pressure, there's something coming up you're maybe not ready for, you want this done with. That's a perceived threat. You could have a bill that's due. You could have your someone you love in your environment who just came in and needs something. That's a perceived threat because you're trying to do something to soothe you, and yet someone else is coming in and wants to do something different. That's a perceived threat, as simple and little as it feels. So let's take a breath in, exhale, and you just acknowledge any thoughts, feelings, sensations that you're noticing. I have my oil diffuser going, so I can hear that. You might be able to see that. Senses are so important to feeling safe and soothed. And I can see my light there, the salt lamp. I notice a thought that there is something else I wanted to say or do, and I'm going to let that go. Give myself compassion. That's where compassion comes in. And then there's probably things that are coming up that we don't have control of or that we can't do right now. Or that is just too overwhelming. And that's where a container comes in. So you visualize sending off or putting something away so that you can get back to the present moment. And then I want to invite you to think about people, places, things that help you feel safe and loved. And there's no right or wrong. Everybody's different. The first thing that came to my mind was pets of mine. So if you have a pet, imagine how it feels to when they greet you when you come home and their unconditional love and want so much to be with you. They love you no matter how mad, grumpy you are. They always want to be with you. And actually, petting pets is actually increases oxytocin. So oxytocin is the love bonding hormone, and so this is why it feels so good in our nervous system, because you're literally creating these hormones that help you feel connected. And there's stress hormones, of course. Cortisol is one of the big ones, but there's a lot. And so when we do things that increase oxytocin, that helps buffer and helps soften and soothe the cortisol levels in our body. So petting, pets, cuddling, being out in nature, doing something you love, watching something funny. I mean, those things increase oxytocin in you. So just think of a person, a place, a recent memory. You may have many. I really want you to zoom in on one. And I'm going to walk you through all your sensations while you're in this memory of feeling loved and safe. So no matter where it's at or who it's at. So I want you to notice what you see when you're in this space with this person or thing or animal. And what do you hear when you're with this person at this place or with this, doing this thing? And if you're getting distracted and other thoughts are coming up, just notice them. Simply notice it and put it away in the container. Set it aside. And go back to your breath and the image of being with or at the place where you feel loved and safe. And then notice how things like you can touch and how do they feel. So if you're with a person, how does their skin feel? If you're petting a pet, how does their fur feel? If you're at a place, how does the textures of where you're sitting or standing feel? And then how are you feeling? Notice sensations in your body. I normally feel light, warm, fuzzy, loving. This desire to want more, to give more. Open again, just listen to what you feel. Just notice how you feel. And it may be subtle, it may be big. And a cool fun fact, the mind doesn't know the difference between real or imagination. And that's how come even just visualizing you being in this safe place or feeling loved, you can literally anchor into that and feel that right now. I'll often in sessions even encourage putting your hand on your chest. I'll put my hand on the chest when I'm really listening and empathizing with somebody, connecting to the beating heart. And so if you are finding getting distracted and not able to connect, putting a physical hand on your heart could help. And another sense is smell, which is how come I often have some sort of oil or incense going, diffusing so that I can breathe in a smell. And so you can imagine you can create this sense of love and safety in your environment, no matter where you are, what you're doing. I'm going to invite you to think about how when you're in this loving, safe place, how does it smell? Do you notice any smells? Our minds and bodies are so incredible, and spirits, like if, you could all of a sudden have a memory of a smell from childhood. Open the door, because what in our brain, what fires together wires together. So another why it's so important to make time to pause and process, because not only do you process the toxins and the negativities, you open the space to connect to the good stuff. And it's so important to do that so that we can be our best selves and function at our best and help. There's a lot in this world that needs our love. Oh, especially yourself, which is another reason I encourage pause and process, because we're so busy taking care of others that this is a moment for you to take care of you. Not only you in this present moment, but all the parts of you that have struggled and suffered and have unmet needs. I'll share often that all negative behavior comes from a state of stress, unmet needs, and lack of skill. And we need to make time to process our stress, get our vital needs met, and learn skills to do all that. And we are wired to be in relationship, and we need others to help us. So I think I went through the senses at sight, smell, touch, taste. Is there anything you taste when you're in this place that feels safe and loving? And just notice there's no right or wrong. Or if you just drank or ate something, you may notice that in your mouth right now. And again, take another deep breath, breathing in, exhaling long through your mouth. And scan from head to toe. Notice any thoughts, feelings, sensations after doing this mindfulness exercise on connecting to places of love and safety. Notice if there's any shifts in your mind, body, spirit, or nervous system since you started listening to me to now. My hope that is that you leave my pause and process feeling a little bit lighter and feeling connected to your best self so that you can do all the things, or at least some of the things, that help you feel alive and good. And then that spreads. When you're able to connect to that, then that energy spreads to everyone around you. So thank you so much for joining me. Please feel free to leave a comment if there's anything else you'd like me to do a pause and process on. I've also done positive reframe videos as well, so you can check out my library of videos. And please take wonderful care.